Hi Srivatsa.
Hi, sir.
Yes, Srivatsa. Is my screen visible to you?
Hi, sir.
Okay. Can you walk me through your question?
Sir, before the introduction of let and const,
Okay.
variable declared inside the block scope. Even
Okay.
now in the outer the scope, sir, we can able to access that.
Hmm.
But no, if we know, you told that we can use only once. We can't use again and again.
Okay.
So that variable var no cannot be used outside the function.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, sir.
Correct.
Yeah. Then that's the only use of ify, or is there any other use case, sir? Currently, they
See,
are using now ify also. So since that let and const has been introduced, no, sir.
correct. Okay. Good. Good question. What made you think of this particular question, Srivatsa?
Uh, Sir, last time, no, sir, you were explaining about this block scope, sir. So
Correct.
I was thinking, sir, what was the how they used earlier, like without that let and cost, how were using that
Very
variable
nice.
and all.
Very nice. Very nice. Good.
Same names will be there. Var name, Srivatsa will be given function scope. Again, in block scope also, I'll be giving same name. But I will get two times the same name, sir. Whatever the name I given in block scope also, I mean, yeah, in block scope, I'll be getting again in that function scope also.
Hmm.
So I was thinking, sir. So then you told if he is there. Then I thought, okay, let me try with if he. Then it was not coming.
Well, it's a very interesting
Thank you, sir.
question. Thank you. Thank you. So it's a very interesting question that Srivatsa has asked. How many of you understood what the question is? I want you to type me if you understood the question. It's a little advanced question. It is not a beginner question. If you understood what the question is, I want you to type me. If you did not understand the question, I want you to type not. Okay. All right. So this is something that at a very experienced level, people are going to be asked during their interviews. Right? I've come across people applying for 5 6 years experience profiles. These kind of questions that are typically asked. Okay, let me just walk you through in simple words what the question is. Okay, this is going to be a continuation from what we left off or what we learned from the previous session. So let us say that we have a function called as greet. Okay, and I will invoke that particular function. When we declare a variable inside a particular function, so what kind of a scope does variable declared with the var keyword have? A variable declared inside a function, what is the kind of scope does the var keyword have? It basically has a function scope, right? So now let us say there is a conditional check, there is an if true, and then here again we redeclare the variable with the var keyword, and I will set this to Bangalore. When I console.log of name, what do you think the output here is going to be? It is going to be Bangalore. Okay, very nice. What do you think the output of name is going to be here? Ah, this is where things are going to get interesting. Let us see what the output is going to be. I see many of you are saying DCT. Very handful of 2 3 people are saying it is going to be Bangalore. Let's check it out. If I run this particular code, I'll say node function 24.js. You can see in both the places, okay, in both the places, it is still going to be Bangalore. Now, why is it so? Because keep in mind, variable declared with the var keyword is going to get one, it is function scope. That means to say the value of this particular variable resides uh, across this particular function. Yes, and then what's happening is it also getting reassigned. So here it is one value. Then there is an if true. For some reason, I'm making this the condition to be true so that we can enter the block. Okay, that's the reason I kept it as if true. Then I'm redeclaring the variable with the same name and I'm assigning it to Bangalore. And then this happened. So this was a very big issue in the past. before ES6 let and const was introduced, there was no way, okay, or there was no direct way. Let me rephrase my point. There was no direct way of introducing block scope inside a function. It was not there. It was not happening because var never had a block scope. Var keyword always had a function scope. It gets hoisted also, absolutely, for her. Yeah? So it has a function scope. It doesn't have a block scope. But with the introduction of let and const, what happened? They now introduced you a block scope, isn't it? So if I say const name DCT, const name Bangalore, now this is basically a variable inside the block. This is a variable inside our function. So now what is the output? So when we do this, very good. It will tell me Bangalore inside and it will say DCT outside, because you now have one variable in the function scope. There was one more variable in the block scope because let and const introduce this block scoped nature. Okay, now watch this. How was it in the past developers were able to implement block scope in JavaScript using the var keyword? So what used to happen was they went on to declare an IFE, right? I can make this. So we say function and then we execute that particular function. Now what happens? You have one function, that is the greet function. Inside that function scope you have the variable name whose value is DCT. And now if true, now what has happened? If we did not do this inside this IFE, our variable name would have still continued to get hoisted and all that issue were happening like you saw previously. It was not preserved. But now what is happening? Because I have declared this particular variable inside this function, this variable name is inside this function. This variable name is with respect to this function. Now what do you think the output is going to be? When I run this piece of code, it will still continue to be Bangalore and DCT. So in the past, before 2015, before let and const was introduced and before block scope was introduced in JavaScript, people were using IFEs to have block scope nature inside their functions. Now, does this make sense? Yeah. So this was what Srivatsa's question is. It's a very good question because we generally do not speak about this, nor do we get this particular question, because very advanced JavaScript developers kind of know all these things. But yeah, I think you should all thank Srivatsa for asking this question. Yes. And also, Sheetal says complexity made simpler. Yes, absolutely. Now what is happening? Instead of doing IFE and creating var, you just do a let or a const, you already have a block scope available to you.